To start things off tonight, my name is Don Dornell. I am the fire chief for Central County Fire Department, which serves Burlingame and Hillsborough. I'm the fire chief for the Millbrae Fire Department and also for San Bruno Fire Department. You can't hear me? Okay. Got to hold it real close. Before we get into tonight's presentation, I want to explain a few things to you. First of all, the intent of tonight's community meeting is to give everybody an understanding of the data that was used to bring to city councils to get the authority to continue to move down the path of a consolidated fire station. Where we've been in the last number of years, Millbrae has been a partner in several shared services as a way to increase efficiencies and reduce costs. They've been a partner with Central County, San Bruno, on shared administration since May of last year, and that's where they have shared my position across the 3 departments or the 4 cities. Deputy Chief Dave Downing here is Deputy Chief for Millbrae Fire Department, and his services are shared with San Bruno. And then we also share Fire Marshal, happens to be here tonight, Jim Allen from San Bruno back. So we have reduced positions and we're sharing the costs across a number of cities in different ways. Another thing that we've been doing for quite a few years now has been the sharing of online or in-service training. Currently, firefighters from Belmont, Foster City, San Mateo, Central County, Millbrae, and San Bruno receive the benefit of a shared training program. What we have done is we've taken personnel from several different cities. Millbrae Fire Department provides a division chief who oversees the entire operation. Central County Fire Department provides an EMS division chief and a training captain, and San Mateo Fire Department provides a battalion chief. Combined, we provide in-service training, so what we've done is we've reduced duplication. We've been able to standardize training and even as much as hose loads and equipment placement on apparatus across the jurisdictions. We also participate in a shared fire apparatus maintenance program. Central County Fire Department provides the facility. We receive the services of a certified fire mechanic from San Bruno who performs the maintenance on apparatus from San Mateo, Central County, Millbrae, and San Bruno. So what we've been able to do is reduce the costs again of maintenance of fire apparatus, but we've also been able to reduce the downtime because we have in-service mechanics who are able to get to the needs of the apparatus much quicker than if we were to take it to a private vendor, which we used to do, and it would sit on their lot until they were able to get to it. So we've looked for ways to have efficiencies, a number of ways. The last thing that we're looking at now is the fact that the city is still faced with a projected budget deficit or a gap, and we've been asked to look at how we can bring this forward and save some money. This started back in 2007 when I became fire chief, and my boss came to me and directed me to start working with the then Millbrae fire chief to see if we could find a way to reduce some costs and consolidate our services. Later on tonight you'll hear how that progressed, but I want to give you a little bit of a background before we get going into the real presentation, just so you understand that we have been doing a lot of things to try to reduce the costs. Before I go any further, I want to introduce, I see 2 members of council here. In the back is Marge Colapietro, and then we have Robert Gottschalk, both members of Millbrae's council here to listen to your comments and questions tonight. I think with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the presentation over to Deputy Chief Dave Downing, who will run through a presentation. This is a similar presentation, almost identical presentation that was made last night in the city of Burlingame. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dave.
Good evening. As Don mentioned, we're here today to discuss some of the factors that have gone into us looking into a shared fire station with the Central County Fire Department and the Millbrae Fire Department. Some of the things that have happened, which have led to us, is how did we get here? Things have changed in the fire service. One of the first things that's happened over the years in 1998, boundary drops occurred. I don't know if I see one of my mentors and captains back when I came into the fire service back in 1984. John Cunningham's back there, but back in those days, in 1984, when I got hired, when a fire occurred in Millbrae, we did not call, other agencies did not come in and help us fight our fire. We fought our own fires, and as did Burlingame, as did San Bruno, as did San Mateo. What we did is when a fire occurred, we'd say, hey, everybody call the off-duty people. You'd get a call from home, and you'd come in as quick as you could to help staff another engine company that would go help fight the fire. That's where we were. Where we are today, as of 1998, we have a central dispatch that looks at all the agencies, and we have a system of move-ups of when a fire and or an emergency call happens, the closest engine goes. Doesn't matter what jurisdictions you're from. We have some areas in Burlingame that we respond into. San Bruno comes into Millbrae, we go into San Bruno, so it's a constant system of moving up and supplying the fastest service we can by sending the closest engine. So that's where we are today in comparison to when we used to call people from back home, from home to come in. So we're a much more efficient, a much quicker service. We get more engines on the scene a lot sooner from a number of jurisdictions. We have an automatic aid agreement that is second to none. San Mateo County is a model. So it was called Model B that started back in 1998 that is looked upon nationwide as one of the best models in the fire service. Another thing that brought us to this is the economics. As everyone knows, the economy took a huge downturn. It caused all cities to look at what we could do to save in all departments. Fire department as one of the ones that we've constantly been looking, as Chief Dornell has said. We're sharing services with San Bruno, with Central County, and we're continuing to look at all kinds of ways to save money throughout our organization. The other thing that's happened is advanced fire and building codes. I mean, sprinkler systems are something that's mandatory in all new buildings. It helps with prevention. We're preventing fires. Anytime a sprinkler head goes off, it's over 90% of the time one sprinkler head will put out a fire. So our building codes, our fire codes have helped to reduce fires so that we can better protect people and property. Modernized apparatus and equipment, that's another thing. We're much quicker at getting up and down hills in Millbrae. I remember, again, I feel like my dad now, telling stories about back in 1984 when I was when I first got in the fire service. But we used to have very slow engines. In fact, I think sometimes going up Hillcrest, I think some guys used to jump off as a joke because we used to ride the tailboard, jump off and see if they could run up faster, if they could beat the engine up the hill. And sometimes we'd be waiting at the stop sign as the engine came up. So apparatus is much quicker nowadays, so we can actually get to calls a lot sooner. And then what's happened to bring us to where we are is the 2009 grand jury report came out, and they said, let's look at complete consolidation studies throughout the whole San Mateo County as well as all over the state. And what they said was that you need to look at your neighbors and see how you can better provide service and possibly cut costs in regards to looking at consolidations. And then there's been many mergers throughout the county that have been very successful. 2004 was one of our neighbors, Central County, Burlingame and Hillsborough formed combined to form the Central County Fire Department. They were able to reduce and eliminate a lot of duplicate efforts. Chief officers, engine companies, they closed the station on Floribunda, which was station 31, eliminated 32 positions. Initial savings was $2.5 million, and currently they're saving about $7 million a year. What would happen if they wanted to go back to the way they were, it would cost $7 million to go back to the service level that they were or the staffing that they were. So you can see that, you know, consolidations do work. We become more efficient. We become more cost effective. 2007 was when we first started to look at Central County, Millbrae, and San Bruno Fire Departments to reevaluate some of the options. Looking at the different departments throughout the county, you can see if you look at the highlighted areas here, it's square miles per fire station, square miles per apparatus, calls per apparatus, and 1,000 per population. You can see using Redwood City all the way down to Woodside that the square miles is 3.2, square miles per apparatus 2.8, about 1,000 calls per apparatus, and 14.4 thousand people per. So what we then began to do is look at what the averages were and how that compared to the responses and the staffing of what we have here in Millbrae. As you can see, because we have 2 stations, especially Station 38, which is a little slower, Millbrae's in regards to the square miles per fire station is a lot lower than the average, 3.2 to 1.6. Square miles per apparatus, 2.8 per 1.6. The calls, 1,084 to 1,344. It's a little misleading because 1,344 is the total calls in Millbrae. I mean per apparatus. 2,688 is the total calls. 1,344 if you just divide that in 2. But Station 38 actually runs only around 700 calls, and Station 38 close to 2,000. So actually Station 38, the one on top of the hill, runs only about 30% of the calls, whereas Station 37 down here runs around 70% of the call volume here in Millbrae. Next thing we did is we looked at Central County, Millbrae, and San Bruno fire departments and how they relate to the averages in the county. As you can see, we still fall below 2.7, 2.1, roughly around the same amount of calls per apparatus, and population is a little bit under also. Then we looked at the combining the 2 fire stations and how the statistics line up there. We're still under the square miles of the average in the county, which is 3.0 versus 3.2. Square miles per apparatus goes to 2.4. The calls per apparatus is pretty close to what the average are in the county. And the population also is just a little bit more with the combination of the 2 stations. Here is the current map, which Rubina, the secretary, has some handouts, if you'd like, at the end of the presentation, which shows the maps that we're going to be looking at. This is the current districts that show the stations that are in Central County, Millbrae, and actually San Bruno. Actually, they show one of the San Bruno stations. Oops, sorry about that. Down here we have Station 32. It's on Ascot. Up here, Chateau is Station 33. Over here is Station 34, which is on California Drive. 35 is one of the current stations on Hillside, which is one of the stations that we will be combining. Here's 37. Here's 38, covering Millbrae. And over here is Station 51 in San Bruno. Station 52 you can't see on the map, but it runs on the top of Skyline just off of Sneath up in this area too, which helps a little bit in the coverage areas coming towards Millbrae. One of the things that we looked at in regards to when we looked at all the times for responses is the EMS response, and we looked at NFPA 1710. This is a national standard that talks about what the recommendations are for EMS calls and what we like to comply to. What NFPA 1710 says for a first responder with an ALS engine is that you will arrive within 480 seconds, 90% compliancy. They add 60 seconds for what's called turnout time, and that's when the call comes into the station. They add 60 seconds for the guys to get their turnouts on so they can be prepared to go on to the call, which is a 540 seconds or 9-minute standard is what NFPA 1710 says. Another is the Journal for Emergency Medical Services. It says that over the 200 most populous cities in America, the standard that they go by is 8.5 minutes, or 8 minutes 50 seconds, I believe that's what it says. 8:59, I'm sorry. Another reference that that we use for medical response is Journal of American Medical Association, which also shows the 8:59 seconds as a standard of care to arrive on scene for a medical call. And then we look at what has happened with the responses in 1998 when we went to Model B, and that is that here in the county with Central County, Millbrae, and San Bruno, we respond with an ALS engine within 419 seconds, or 6 minutes 59 seconds. I'm sorry. That is the standard for our contract, 6 minutes and 59 seconds, which includes turnout time, which we do in a 97% compliancy. So that 6:59 is what the standard that we are held to in the county. But what our average response time actually is on an ALS call with turnout time, including turnout time, is 4 minutes and 30 seconds. So you can see that although our medical standard holds us to a 6:59 response time, our average response time in all three agencies is actually 4 minutes and 30 seconds. So we're well under what is required in regards to responses. For a fire response, we also looked at the data, what NFPA 1710 also shows, which is the fire department shall provide for the arrival in an engine company with 240 seconds, 80 seconds added for turnout time, which is equals to 320 seconds, or 5 minutes and 20 seconds, 90% of the time. So they hold us to a standard of getting the first fire engine, guys all geared up, in 5 minutes and 20 seconds, 90% of the time. That's the standard that NFPA 72 recommends, which is a national standard. In Central County, Millbrae, and San Bruno, like I said, based upon Model B, which went into effect in '98, our response time includes turnout time equals 359 seconds, which is 5 minutes and 50 seconds, 100% of the time. So that's the standard that we meet. Although it is about 30 seconds higher than the standard, you can see that we're right within the realm of what the national standard recommends. Okay, when we looked at the districts of 38, 35, and 52, one of the things that we did was we looked at the call volume. And what it is if you look at Fire Station 38, it ranks 52nd out of the 60 districts in the county. As it shows here, the 54 through 60 are all coastal stations. So, like I said earlier, there's 728 calls a year. 40% of those calls are in 38's district. The other 60% are out of district. That means that anytime a call comes in to Millbrae, usually Station 38 response, which is the one up on the hill, 60% of the time they're going out of district, usually into Station 37's district. So that's one of the things we looked at. Fire Station 38 ranks 39th, so it's actually in the lower third also of calls, which is 716 calls a year. 77% of those calls are in district, 23 out of district. And then Station 52, which is in San Bruno, ranks 25th of the 60s. The reason why we put that statistic up there is some people might have asked, how come you're not thinking about moving Station 38 and 52 together? Well, 52 is a very busy station up on the hill in San Bruno. They run a lot of calls. As you see, they're 25th in the county versus Station 38, which ranks 52nd, and Fire Station 35, which ranks 39th. So what we've done when we've looked at this data is we've taken two slower stations, which are 38 and 35, and we've taken the data, we've looked at response times, calls for service, where they're going, whether they're going in district and out of district, and we've shown that these are two of the slower stations that we think that we can still meet service levels, and by putting a station in between the two of them and still providing a high level of service in both areas. One of the things that when we started to gather all this data, we said, is that enough for us to go out and take all this information down and see if we can get it verified? So what happened was in 2008, we hired an outside agency, which was called the Matrix Study, and they advised us to move forward with the merge, and one of the recommendations was to combine Fire Station 35 and Fire Station 38. So the data that we had collected initially, which we were looking at to see how we can become more efficient, which was part of it was to combine Fire Station 35 and 38, was verified by the Matrix Study. In 2010, we continued to, there were some questions looking at some of the data that Matrix did, so they hired another consultant, which was Citygate. And Citygate confirmed the studies and the implementation plan, so it was just a double check or a second verification that were the figures and all the data that we had gathered, were they verified, were they true numbers, were they true calls. We wanted to make sure that we were able to meet the standards that we had set, and also the call responses. So now we get to looking at what other data was necessary, and that was looking at the site selection process of how we were going to choose a site that was best to serve both communities. There were 6 sites that were looked at. As you see here from the map, here's Station 38, here's Station 35. When they looked at all the sites, I think one of the recommended sites that Citygate recommended was Site 3, which isn't really a lot or anything. It's just a site that was, I think, how the crow flies between the 2 stations. This was the best area, but it actually isn't a buildable site or anything. It was just the area that they said would probably be the best place for a fire station. So when we looked at, there was Sebastian Park over in Millbrae, and there was these 4 areas over here. As it shows, 3-acre site, which was recommended, which is site 1 right here. There's a SPUC property, and there's a couple other sites over here in Burlingame, which are pretty all close to one another. So these are, again, the stats and the criteria that were looked at when we were looking at what site we were going to choose. As you see, the number 1 site that was recommended, operational response area, very desirable, minimal impact. The cost is about $600,000. Distance from Fire Station 35 and 38 were pretty close to. Whoops, sorry about that. We're pretty close to one another, 1.6 miles versus 1.27 miles. So, again, as I said, the statistics are showing that the new temporary fire station between 35 and 8, and these are some of the response factors that led to our decision. The distance from Fire Station 38 in Millbrae was 1.27 miles. The distance from 35 in Central County was 1.6 miles. The new longest response into 38's district, 1.8 miles, or just a 0.2 mile difference. And the new longest response into 35's district is 1.83 miles, which is a 0.23 increase in response time. So when we looked at all 3 districts, Millbrae's longest response is in engine 37 is 1.8 miles. San Bruno's longest response was engine 52, which is 2.15 miles. And Central County's longest response is engine 33, which is 2.3 miles. So you can see that based upon just 2 of the other stations in the area, San Bruno's 52 and Central's 33, Station 37 is still less of a response route for the longest run. One of the other things we looked at when we were looking at the how we were going to supply service to this area it was an additional thing, is as I mentioned earlier, most of the calls that 38 runs is into District 37. So what we decided to do as part of this study is staff what's called the flex engine. The flex engine would be out of Station 37. It would be from 8 in the morning till 8 at night, Monday through Friday. Why do we choose those times? Because 35% or 60 hours out of, or so it's staffed 35% of the time, but 50% of the total responses is during that time period, or 35% of the 60 hours. Does everyone understand all that? It's a little confusing.
Homes and people go away the other percent of the time? Yeah.
Pardon me?
That's because the homes and people go away the other 75% of the time? 65% of the time?
It's just, the statistics show that most of the calls are 8 in the morning till 8 at night. That's just the call volume shows that that's when the calls are occurring. So this is based out of Station 37. You could actually kind of call it Station 38 if you wanted to, as I'll show coming up. So the council approved a merged administration also in 2011, and we decided to share a fire station pilot program. So that's kind of what has occurred moving forward. The next slide will show the mapping of how things are laid out right now. As you can see, here's 38's district as it occurs right now, 37's district here, okay? We have the current 35 over here. This is 34, and here's 33. 51 is over here. So you can see here's pretty much the affected area, which is Station 38, and here's 37. The next slide will show this is what happens if we do combine the station and where everything lies, how the boundaries change. Here is the new 35, okay? As you can see from the old slide, here's the old 35, okay? You can see it's down the hill, off a hillside. And then here's the new 35. Some of you, the new 35 is located just off of Truesdale. If you come off the freeway northbound on 280, take the Truesdale exit, which is right here. You turn right on Truesdale, you come down about 100 yards, and it's right there. There's a site, it's a 3-acre, little over 3 acres site, which is right here. So looking at the districts, like I said, 35 now stretches partly into Millbrae, into the upper area. Millbrae 37 now absorbs part of the old 30. The cutoff used to be right here. 37's district used to be cut off right here. Now they absorb this upper area. 35, like I said, takes the other part of 38's old area. Again, remember that during all this time, so we have the new 35, which used to be located down over here. 35 is now here. 37 also will be manned with what you could probably call a second engine, which would, you could say it might be the old 38, which would be at Station 37 Monday through Friday from 8 to 8 at night. So that's basically what the response looks like. So you can see the difference of what we had before, which was 37 and 38, 35 over here, and where we're going now, which is the combined station of 37 here, the new 35 here. But remember, the flex engine will also be at Station 37 to help in the responses. This is basically the site plan of where the new site is. As I told you, it's just down off of Truesdale. If you, like I said, you come off the freeway, coming down 280 here, you take a right turn off of Truesdale, you come down Skyline about 100 yards, and here's where the site is. They've designed the site so that you can drive in, circle around, and come into the new temporary station, drive back out, so there won't be any backup, and the impact on the community will be a lot less noise. the temporary fire station sits with an apparatus room here and a couple of buildings here. This will eventually be the new fire station when and if when they build it down the road. So that kind of completes the presentation of where we at, where we were, where we're going, some of the criteria that we used to decide where the site was going to be, how we decided that these two stations could be combined. So at this point, I'd like to open it up to any questions that people would have, and I suspect there will be questions.
If we could, Dave. This is being recorded, so what I'd like to ask is you raise your hand, we'll acknowledge you, and Deputy Chief Lattice will go around and give you a microphone so that those that are going to be watching this later on can hear your question, and you can get the answer to that as well.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I think it's an incredibly good idea that the fire companies are looking for ways to economize and reduce the amount of taxpayer money that goes into maintaining duplicated services. So in that respect, I think some of the things you've said this evening are very heartening. Some are very disturbing. If I understand correctly, and I'm not a statistician, but I've read through your presentation this evening, and a couple of things come to mind. First of all, we have two fire stations that right now combined have a faster response time to the citizens who reside in those areas than the county average. That's correct, isn't it?
Correct.
By going to a consolidated station, we are going to actually have a degradation of response time for the people who live within that firehouse area. So it's less than the county average. But I fail to see how going off and having a slower response time to people who live in that area is somehow a good thing. If I was living in that area, I would be looking at taking out more fire insurance, because you're talking about a minute or two more to get to my house if it's on fire, and I'm not really comforted by that. One other thing, your presentation talks about closing two fire stations which are already built and manned and functioned, going off and building a temporary station at the tune of $500,000 or so. I may be off a little bit, but is that close?
What?
$600,000, excuse me.
Yeah, the temporary fire station is $600,000.
$600,000 of taxpayer money to build that fire station out. And then if the studies show out in the future that that's a worthwhile effort, the county's going to spend another, what is it, $9 million of taxpayer money to go off and scrape that off and build a new fire station, and that somehow is saving money. I'm lost. I don't understand the economics of that at all. Are there any people in here that understand the economics of that? Because I'm lost. I think it's throwing money away. It makes me think somebody's brother-in-law is a contractor.
Let me address a couple of things that you said. First of all, I guess it all depends upon where you're looking at in regards to the response time. The old fire station 38, which was over in this area right here, in comparison to where the new 35 will, in some areas there'll be a quicker response route to Millbrae. So it just depends on where you are. Now,
that's not what your statistics show, sir.
pardon me?
You have a brand new subdivision of 38 homes across the street from Fire Station 38. Address that. I think that Fire Station 38 should stay where it is, and the administration should be combined. But leave the stations as they are.
I don't know if you heard part of the presentation, but Chief Dornell addressed it. We are already combining the administration, but we're continuing to look at other areas to save money. One of them is in fire prevention. We have 2 fire prevention bureaus amongst 3 cities. Jim Allen, who's the fire marshal in San Bruno, is now covering both cities, and Rocky Ball is the Central County fire marshal. We're looking at ways to save money and also in prevention, which is part of administration, so we are doing that. So it just depends, and I understand your point in regards to In some areas of Station 38, which is probably in this area over here, there are going to be a little bit longer response times, but we still are meeting the standard of the county. There are areas in Millbrae that we will be responding quicker from Station 35. So it just depends on, in the outlying area, yes, there will be differences in response times from what they are used to now, but in others, there will be. There won't be, so there will be closer. In regards to the $9 million you were referring to build a station, that is a very escalated figure. From what I understand, and Chief Levezzo's here, who's been doing a lot of work on it, I think the new station would probably cost more like $3 or $4 million, not $9 million.
Even still, that's taxpayer money that we're going to pay to go off and duplicate services we already have.
So you're trying to hook up like a dating game. You try to move in together on a temporary basis just to see if it works. If it works, fine, then you build a new station. If it doesn't work, you split up again and you are back to square one.
Yeah, and one of the things that I did mention in the presentation was that a fire station costs about $1.8 to $2 million a year to run annually. So what's happening, and this is partially fiscally driven as well as like I said, we're trying to be as efficient as possible while trying to maintain service levels that the citizens as well as we are able to provide or are used to providing. So, we are trying to provide the same level of service and also become more efficient. And part of it was taking two stations that are very slow, combining them into one, and see if we can meet the response times that people are acceptable to everybody. The cost savings per year for the station is about $1.8 million, which would be split equally between Central County and Millbrae. So that's roughly around $900,000 per year savings to the city of Millbrae, to the city of Central County, to their departments. However, there are in addressing your question in regards to the taxpayer money, there are a cost involved in building a new station. The debt service for that would be about a little over $200,000 per year per agency. It would also cost. What am I missing here? The flex engine from Station 38 would also be a little over $200,000. So it would be It's about $430,000. So the net savings of combining the stations, the ballpark figure looks to be about $450,000 to $500,000 a year in savings to the city of Millbrae. That's why we're even looking at this. It's also looking at it because we're taking, like I said, one of the slowest stations in the county and trying to look at how we can become more efficient while still providing the service level that the citizens are expected, as well as we want to provide.
Well, if you're determined to go with a new fire station combined, why even have a temporary one? Then go ahead and build a new fire station.
Well, the reason why we're building a temporary fire station is because we want to assure that we can meet the service levels that are demanded by the public as well as what we want to provide. So we don't want to just build a new fire station in an area if we're not sure. That's why this is a pilot program. It's a one-year program to look at the statistics to see if we can meet the needs.
Apparently you have your doubts.
No, there's no doubts.
You're wasting $600,000 to test it, and if it works out, fine. Then you build a new fire station. If not, then you're back to square one.
We're going to move on to other questions, but I'll address your question.
One of the things, I understand what you're saying there, ma'am. One of the things that we're basing this on is our prior history of bringing organizations together. When we brought Burlingame and Hillsborough together, we closed the station. The community wanted to see that demonstrated before we went fully forward with that. We did that. We shuttered the station. We did a pilot program. When we were directed to start doing this, to find ways to reduce costs of fire service, we were told to also plan to do the same thing, to demonstrate to the community, have a pilot program. So that's what we are presenting tonight, is the pilot program. It's still, the decision to do all of this is still going to be made by your city councils. What we have been tasked with, is to gather the data and to then make the recommendation based on what the consultants had already said as to the best way to provide this service at a reduced cost and minimize the impact on the community. So that's what we're presenting tonight. We're going to ask that we get on the microphone so that it can be picked up, and there's one in the back. We'll get to you, ma'am.
First of all, I'd like to thank the two council people that are here tonight for showing up. Too bad the others didn't see fit to come and hear some of this. Three. Good, three. First of all, Dave, I'm going to address this. I'm going to personalize it because I'm one of the guys who's affected by this. I'm going to get worse coverage. Right now I have good coverage from Station 38. I live on Ridgewood. So with this new program, I'm going to be covered by Station 37. Now, I was on the fire. We had one station in Millbrae. I was on the fire that prompted the uproar to build the second station. And we had a 4-minute response then, not a 5-minute and 50-second response. When your house is burning down, it seems like forever. The people were in uproar. They got a bond issue and built that station. They still want that station because we have better coverage. For me, if 37 is on a call and something happens at my house, for my wife and I, we ought to wait for this new station, which is going to be a longer response. So any way you look at it, I'm going to have worse coverage. I voted for this fire tax in good faith to keep current level of protection. But this is a reduction, and I don't see how you can do that while we're paying this fire tax. As far as the, what do you call that thing from 8 to 8? The
Flex engine.
Flex engine. Flex engine. Just don't have a heart attack at 8:30, I guess, huh? I don't know how you got those stats. Is that medical and structure, or is it all calls? I know during the day you get a lot of lockouts and stuff like that. So are you counting all those calls to come up with those figures to say that your busiest time is from 8 to 8? It seemed like when I was working, we were up all night long, so I don't remember that.
Mark, do you have any stats on that in regards to the flex engine statistics?
Yeah, all the stats came from dispatch, which is out of Redwood City, where all the calls go through. And so that's where all the numbers came through. And they do annual statistics that are through that, where you can see that the call volume is greatest between 8 in the morning and 8 at night. The private industry has done it for years. And so that's where so those are all calls. Those are all calls.
One of the other things, just to answer to add something about what the flex engine also is throughout the day, almost every day during the week, there's mandatory training from engines all throughout the county. And a lot of times our engine in Millbrae is maybe down in Burlingame or in Foster City at training that is mandatory that they do. And so what happens is there may be a station, 38 maybe. When 38 goes out, then somebody from either Burlingame or San Bruno will move in. Well, that was the idea of part of the coverage of the flex engine. Flex engine's there to take care of some of the training needs that are caused, responses that are caused by the engines going out all the time on training, which is mandatory, which is something that is necessary for our firefighters to remain trained to the highest level. So that was one of the ideas behind the flex engine, to cover holes when training occurs throughout the county.
And as this gentleman was saying, these out-of-district calls from 38, they're going into 37's area, so they're still servicing the people in Millbrae. For me, it's a reduction in my level. So my wife and I are getting to the stage in our life where we might need you guys, and I don't want to have a longer response time. I'd like to keep things the way they are. I'm not in favor of this at all.
Chief Downey, thank you very much. My name is Brian Dixon. I live on Laurel Avenue. I spent 35 years in the fire service, recently retired, service retirement. I spent most of my career working at San Mateo County's busiest fire station in East Palo Alto, most of it as a paramedic captain. I was one of the founding fathers of the Advanced Life Support Engine Company system. First detail I need to ask Chief Lattis and Chief Downing is, I read NFPA 1710, section 4.1.2.1, subsection 4. I know this is a bunch of legal hogwash, but basically it says that the standard for medical response is 240 seconds, not 480. And Chief Lattis points out to me I should add an additional 60 seconds on that. I will. So the additional 60 seconds would be 5 minutes, not 7 minutes, which would, I think, impact this right here. Second of all, I agree 100% with John Cunningham that, you know, the reason why these facilities exist is it's time. Time is tissue. Time is property. And, you know, we're blessed the fact that we have paramedics in each one of our engines, and we're blessed that we can follow the chain of survival, which is by the American Heart Association. You've got all kinds of statistics on that. For every minute you decrease the response time by in a witness cardiac arrest, your chance of out-of-hospital survival increases by 50%. That isn't just getting your heart started again. That's walking out of the hospital alive. When I retired from the fire service, a week after I retired, I had the major myocardial infarction. I was a dead man on the cath lab table at Peninsula Hospital. Okay? So it hits home for me. I live on Laurel. I'm in District 37's area, and 37 is very busy. 37 responds into Burlingame and San Bruno, and I'm all for the boundary drop. But having that second station up, it's a matter of additional safety. It's a matter of a safety net. You know, it's time and tissue, and each one of you guys here knows that. You haven't talked anything about 2 in and 2 out and the requirement to have a second engine company on scene before you make entry into a building. You haven't talked about the national standard of making sure that you have the entire first alarm assignment, which is now 5 engines, a truck company, and 2 chief officers on scene within an established standard. All these things have a negative impact. One other thing that's not getting mentioned here tonight, and like I say, I've been around this county, been in the fire service a long, long time. I'll start from the south and work to the north. Everybody in this county has experienced a ton of things have happened since 1975, and I have a PowerPoint here that will explain it. But we've gone from 3 basic responsibilities, which was structure fire protection, doing minimal first aid, and vehicle extrication in 1975, to where we have 14 responsibilities now, and I won't tell you what they are, but they include paramedic work, water rescue, wildland fire suppression, hazmat. We have a lot more skills that we have to do and train on. Atherton, East Palo Alto, and Menlo Park are protected by the Menlo Park Fire Protection District. They haven't cut back stations. In 1998, they opened Station 77. Add 1 to the inventory. Woodside Fire Protection District repatriated a station up on Jefferson. They put a 3rd station in the inventory. San Mateo County CDF moved their crew that was in that former Woodside station and put it on Edgewood Road. Redwood City Fire Department put an additional station out on Redwood Shores. All these agencies have added facilities. And up in the north end of Central County's jurisdiction, in South San Francisco, they added a 5th station. They doubled their number of paramedic transport units. They all added resource because there's additional demand for calls, there's additional demand for expertise, and they recognize the need. The Central County area is the only area that has already lost an engine at Floribund and El Camino. They've closed equipment on Rollins Road, and now they want to close a 3rd station. You know, basically, you're utilizing the resources of your neighbors. If you were a high school kid smoking in the bathroom, you're smoking OPs, other people's. You're the only jurisdiction that's drawing upon their neighbors. And you're basically, when this starts happening and everybody gets a trend like this, we're going to destroy this great JPA we have, and we're going to go back to a system that's not beneficial. That, capped with the fact that we've already taxed ourselves once in the city of Millbrae to keep our two paramedic engine companies open, we can sit here and dance around all the numbers and politics or whatever. Speaking as a citizen who has been in this business, saved a significant amount of lives, was the incident commander over 40,000 incidents in my career, Took 43 kids through their very first working structure fire, which means I took the first knob into the job 43 times in my career, and I don't think there's many guys in this room that can say that. Time is tissue. Time is property. And what you guys are doing right here is playing with my property, my family's lives, and my life. And just like Captain Cunningham, I'm not for it. And I think it's time for us to sharpen our pencils, sit down with a citizens advisory group, look at ways that we can generate revenue. My last 7 years, I ran a paramedic transport service in the fire department up in Arnold. Generated a lot of money. And, you know, we should be doing the transport work and generating the revenue to support our infrastructure and keep our public safety structure where it is. And I agree with these other people that we don't need to be investing a bunch of things in a petri dish when we've got something that's better. That's it. That's all I got to say.
Hi, my name is Ken Boyd. I've lived in Millbrae for 40 years. And during that period of time, I adjusted fire claims, thousands of them. And the response time, I'm sure you would know the exact statistics, between a 2-minute response and a 4-minute response might be a house totally destroyed. It's a huge escalation. And you look at the age of people in your audience here, and they're all senior citizens, most of which are probably on fixed income. And they certainly don't want you to pass a bond issue to give worse service. And they keep on saying there's a money gap. Well, I forget the lady, I think she said they added 78 houses. Well, you better believe each one of those taxpayers is paying like an extra $10,000 that went into the Millbrae coffers, not to mention the fact that under Proposition 13, the taxes went up 1.1% per house per year. Millbrae, unlike many cities, didn't send out a notice lowering the taxes because the values went down. And I just want to reiterate what the gentleman said. With senior citizens residing in the city, they're going to need the medical services faster, not slower, and not more expensive. And if you're just shooting for a bond issue, I'm totally against it. Thank you.
I'm curious, in addition to the $600,000 which it will cost for the temporary fire station, how much has been spent on all these consulting companies? I see two different consultants.
Studies.
The studies.
I don't have the answer to that question. I know, I don't know, Kevin, do you? Do you know what the cost was of the Matrix and the Citygate studies?
Dave, I don't have the figures in front of me, but I think I would say that it would cost Millbrae somewhere around $20,000 to $25,000 for the two combined. Combined.
Kevin McGorder is a division chief for Central County, who runs the training division, said that he believes the figures were $60,000 split between the two agencies. So it's probably around $30,000 for Millbrae, $30,000 for Central County for the two studies.
I've been here for about 20 years in Millbrae. I'm a retired firefighter from San Francisco. I participated in the 1989 quake. It was one of those things that wasn't planned. It came about, hit everybody, and we were stretched out to more than the limit. Here, looking at what we got, you're cutting too many corners. If we have any event like that in the future, which only Mother Nature knows and the man upstairs, we're going to be in serious trouble. And we can't just be on our own. We need help within, because everybody else is going to be expended outward. Look what happened in San Bruno with the gas pipe going. I mean, all the homes, all the life lost. I mean, some unexpected event will always come up. And that's why that fire service is needed there, not just because of the requirements and all that, for the protection and welfare of the public. We paid for this. Like on that other parcel that we paid, $144 every parcel. We paid for the extended fire service here to keep what was here. Now you're going to eliminate that. So does that mean, being in business now, that money we get back? Is that what you're saying now? Cost effectively, as a homeowner, I say, give me my money back now. You're cutting. And there is an increase of revenue. I don't know where it's going at, but Millbrae's turned around considerably for homes. So from paying $1,000, a couple $1,000 a year for taxes, you're looking at maybe $8,000 or $9,000. So where's all that additional revenue? You know, I brought this up when we were talking about cutting the PD down here. You know, and the same response I got was zero on that aspect. So I can't see it being cost effective doing this type of planning here. It's ridiculous. The other thing is that, you know, yeah, we're all getting older. I agree with that 100%. We need the help. Okay? So the only other thing I can see what's going on here, besides tuning me out, is that there's incentive pay going on here for this program. Every county has... Okay. Sorry. All right. You know, there is incentive pay that I believe that's here, like in any other county. And that's probably what's going on if this plan goes through. So somebody, that's a manager, is going to make money out of this of losing jobs. And a sacrifice at our cost. That's all I have to say.
I'm sorry, some people had trouble hearing those comments because we lost the battery, and we're going to get a new battery for the other microphone. Well, one thing that I do want to point out to you is that the fire department is considered a general fund department. So the taxes go back in, and the income revenue comes in and goes to the general fund of the city, and then they dole it out to the departments. The fire assessment, sir, you're right, $144 a year per parcel. That generates, this year we're looking at roughly $1.4 million of revenue to the general fund. The budget for the Millbrae Fire Department is somewhere around $5.3, $5.4 million. So what I want to point out is that what I'm faced with is having a revenue that is about 26% of my budget is brought in back to the city in the form of that fire assessment. Station 38 costs us roughly $1.8, $1.9 million. So Station 38 is right now costing us about 35% of our budget. So what the city is faced with is a gap there. What we've been tasked with is finding ways to close that gap without costing any more money. So that's what this proposal is about. Anything further than that is beyond the fire department. We're not going to make those decisions. We're making recommendations based on where things are right now. So I just want you to understand is that the assessment right now does not fully pay for that station, and it only pays a percentage of our budget. And we've done other things along the way. We talked about the shared services that we've done. So short of something drastic, that's what we're faced with right now. And that's not my decision to make. My decision is to recommend to the council what is best based on the budget that we have to work with right now.
Excuse me, Chief, did I understand you correctly to say that the city of Millbrae has determined to go off and balance their budget shortfall on the back of the fire department? Because that's kind of what I thought I heard you just say, and that really troubles me. That implies that the only part of the city of Millbrae that can be able to affect the overall revenue shortfall we have is the fire department. I find that really hard to believe.
What I'm saying is that out of the general fund, or the money that comes back into the general fund, the $1.4 million of the fire assessment is that portion that comes back to help offset the cost of the fire department. And I'm saying that the cost of the fire department is $5.4 million. So that I'm just giving you the facts of what they are. Revenue in on this assessment is 1.4, cost is 5.4. That's where it is with our budget right now. The rest of the money does come from the general fund. This assessment goes back to that general fund. So in essence, that is help offsetting, or it's I hate to put it in these terms, but it's one less rock the city's got to turn over to find a way to fund the full cost of the fire department.
Yeah, Don, in the past we've spent a lot of money on surveys to see what is important to the citizens. And the number one priority has always been fire and police protection. So the fire tax was used to bring money into the general fund so they could maintain other services, basically. What the city council needs to do, instead of reducing our fire protection, is look at cutting other services that are a lower priority for the citizens of Millbrae. Just take a look at your surveys and see what is important and what's not. Spend a lot of money on those surveys.
Just to let you know, the budget forecast for the next 5 years shows a deficit of roughly $2 million for the city of Millbrae. Part of that is due to the sunset of the fire assessment, which is June of 2014. So the sunset, the tax brings in roughly around 1.4 million. And as soon as that tax sunsets, the city is looking at a approximately $2 million deficit from then on for the next 5 years. We know, as some people have pointed out, that the economy is rebounding a bit, but the projections still show that that's about where we're at right now with the city's budget deficit.
My name is Jean Bertini, and my husband Tullio was the chairman of the Fire Bond Committee that built the second fire station, and we're very proud of it. And I would just like to say that in the 18 months before he died, we called 911 3 times, and those guys were there like that. He had a blood clot that went all the way through his heart into his lungs, and he lived through it thanks to their rapid response. And I think that those of us that are at this age in our life need that security. And I wonder, those new houses up on the top of the hill, if a lot of those people felt secure to buy their house because of the fact that they had a fire station right across the street. I'm also concerned with the personnel. You said that the other station that you closed, 23 people were let go? Is that right? 32. What happened to them? 32. I'm concerned in this time of unemployment.
Just real quick, no firefighters lost their jobs. It was all through attrition. So we were overstaffed, and it was all through attrition. We slowly decreased the number of personnel. Nobody lost their jobs. Okay, so those 32 positions were jobs that went away once somebody retired.
Thank you, I appreciate that, but what's going to happen when these 2 stations are closed? If that's all going to be attrition as well?
Yes, currently we have 5 openings in the department right now in Millbrae, and a station is staffed by 9 people, so Millbrae would be responsible for 4.5 positions. Central County would be responsible for 4.5 positions. So we would not be losing any personnel because we're running short right now.
Well, that's one good thing.
My name is George Wismore. I lived in Millbrae about 26, 27 years. I grew up in Oakland, and we were talking about cutting back services and firemen. My mom lived in Oakland when they had the Oakland-Berkeley Hills fire, and I don't know why anybody would be wanting to cut back services when I saw that. I had to go over to Oakland and make sure my mom was all right. Thank God her home was okay, but we knew a lot of people lost their homes over there, and that was a widespread fire. The thing over in San Bruno about the pipeline, that was small compared to what happened in Oakland and Berkeley. When we're cutting back services, suppose we get a fire like that. Part of the problem was I don't think that would happen here because of the way the streets are lined. Over there in Oakland Hills and Berkeley Hills, it's more like Hillsborough. And a lot of the firemen coming in from other cities didn't know how to get to everything was like a jigsaw puzzle over there. So that's part that it was, the eucalyptus trees were just burning like crazy, and they just spread all over, and they were filtered all through the hills. In a general catastrophe, we're cutting back services. That really worries me. I think we should be adding more services to the fire. Like the gentleman over there saying 7 less. I think we have to think of the big catastrophe. Hopefully that'll never happen. But we can't, just to save a few dollars, we have to look at the big picture too.
It's already been said by the retired San Francisco firefighter, and Chief Dornell, I disagree with you. When we lost those 32 people, if they were all suppression individuals, in the event of a regional disaster such as an earthquake or a large wildland fire, which could easily happen in the Millbrae Avenue Canyon, the Mills Estate Canyon, or up in the Burlingame Hills or any running through Hillsborough, we're going to want these additional personnel to be recalled and able to staff additional reserve apparatus. But when you no longer have them on your staff and you no longer have them on your payroll, they're not going to be able to come in. Another factor that nobody's even considered here, and this happened during the 1989 earthquake, I was working in East Palo Alto. We did not have any PG&E power in that town for 5 days. So everybody with a breathing machine, everybody with a home kidney dialysis machine, everybody with anything that needed medical stuff done to them ended up on the doorstep of the busiest fire station in the county, wanting to use our emergency generator so they could get their medical needs taken care of in a rapid succession. We took care of them. But we needed to have additional personnel on our station to take care of the onset of people coming in. When you remove a fire station from a community, from the immediate neighborhood, you've lost that resource. If there's a major earthquake and you've lost your natural gas, you've lost your electricity, and you've lost your water, you don't have an essential facility in your neighborhood that you can walk to and get help. Maybe the flex engine can take a mosey on by. The idea of trying to predict when the next major disaster or the next medical event or the next fire is, if there's homes and people, if there's property and people in houses, they need to be protected because there's a potential for an emergency. And that's a philosophy that you can't sit there and do a retrospective study of when the call was last week. I had my major heart attack at 2:30 in the morning. Okay? Outside the flex zone time. Sorry, Chief. Anyway, enough said.
Brian, I do want to make one thing clear. I never said I didn't lose positions. I said nobody lost their job. We didn't lay people off, and that to me is an important aspect of this. We did everything we could to keep people working. Recognizing that, we did lose bodies, and that's a decision that's made by others than us. But I appreciate those comments. This lady right here had her hand up for a while.
I have some old papers here from other meetings that I've been to. I'm looking at a paper that was a meeting in 2008, and I have a note on here that Station 38, this is actually, I wrote here, closed 38 and 35, moved to central areas. This is back in 2008. And I have that Station 38, at the time you said, was getting 370 calls a year. But that number now is well over 700. In 5 years, it's practically doubled. And with all the condo units being built and the houses that are up there, the calls are just going to go up. So I know 700 relatively doesn't sound like much, but it's already doubled and almost doubled in 5 years. So the numbers aren't going to go down. I think that's going to go up. Also, the fire assessment that we're talking about, that's been voted in twice. No problem, handily. And I know San Francisco's proved it. Nobody votes to get rid of a fire station, ever. I mean, nobody votes for that. If that was put up, and that, you said the assessment right now is $144 a year, even if you doubled that, it's not even $300 and you're already looking at 2.8, like bam, like right away. I mean, I could almost guarantee that that would pass. So I think that there just needs to be other things looked at. That fire assessment's going to stay. No one's going to not vote for that. And I don't think enough emphasis is being given to that. Double it, and there's almost $3 million, you know? So that's my opinion.
Can cost be cut somewhere in personnel? Not
Just one quick, this woman asked a comment about if costs could be reduced in personnel without laying people off. One of the things that I do need to point out is for the last, guys help me out, last 5 years, the Millbrae fire personnel have taken a 5% pay cut. Am I correct on that? 3 years? 3 years. Last 3 years they've taken a pay cut. And with that being said, their compensation package compared to other departments in the city, I'm sorry, in the county is lower than most.
can they look at the 100% pension?
No, they don't. Well, the pension, see, that's one of the things that's out of our control is the pension costs. I'm talking about the salaries. I'm talking about the fact that the fire personnel have made concessions to work with the city to reduce the fire department budget. So those are the kinds of things our personnel have been doing. To your comment about the fire assessment, that's not up for the fire department to make that decision. That decision is going to have to be made by your elected officials. They're looking at all kinds of options now. I think in some ways we have to look at this as what happens if it doesn't go, and so part of what we're moving forward with is those kinds of options for the city.
What are you going to do with that firehouse for the ones you're leaving?
There's no plans right now to do anything with it during the pilot program. If the pilot program was deemed successful, they would probably the council would look at how they could best utilize that site. But right now, until things unfold in regards to the data and it's proven that this program can work, the station will remain there. Whether or not they try to, some thoughts were that they would try to utilize it to bring in some sort of revenue was a possibility, but that's still in the thought process stage.
But that property was donated by the developer. I have a loud teacher's voice. That property was donated by the developer and to the city, and so there was no need to purchase the land when they built the fire station after the bond election. So can you feel justified to go ahead and sell it?
Like I said, I don't feel justified doing anything, and I'd like to thank your husband too back in 1975 for leading that thing to put that station up there. That was a very noble thing that he did, and it was a great thing for the city of Millbrae. No, I think that when and if any decision is made regarding that property, it'll be something that the council considers, and I'm sure there'll be input that will be solicited from the citizens as well as staff before anything is decided. So there has been no decisions, there's been no thoughts of what will happen with that station. Right now, it's a full functioning station. This is a pilot program that is being proposed.
It seems to me that this battle with the fire station is really fought on your backs, and the culprit is the city of Millbrae. City of Millbrae has a deficit, and it's fought on the back of the fire station and the firefighters. So maybe we should address the Millbrae City Council and look at the city to find other ways to cut deficits and keep the fire station intact and not make any changes. The fire department is the scapegoat, as I can see it.
Yeah. I know that, being part of the city for the last 28 years and looking at being part of the budget process for many years, the city, every department is looked upon to make cuts to make sure the budget is balanced. From the personnel who have taken cuts in 5% citywide for the last 3 years to every department, it does appear that in this presentation that, it's being put on the back of the fire department. Now, it is based upon, part of this is based upon the fire assessment, which is a big part of the budget that is current right now. So when that sunsets, there is going to be a deficit. And I know the city, as well as the city council, is looking at every nook and cranny to see where they can save money. This is one option that has come forward that they are seriously considering, as well as any other option that I think that these community meetings will bring you guys. The citizens are, that's why we're having these meetings, to get your input, to solicit your input, to see if there are other options that might come forward. So that's what this meeting is about. It's very important to get everybody's input.
But I'm not sure whether we have any input. It sounds to me that this is a foregone conclusion. And if you talk about the fire assessment running out, if you put it back to the voters, it's going, just like Georgia said, it's going to go and with flying colors. We want that fire station to stay open. We cannot afford to reduce it for the safety of the people in Millbrae. And there are a lot of people up on the hill and in the close vicinity. And I think $600,000 to spend on a temporary fire station just to find out if a consolidation would work, I think it's an absolute waste of money. That $600,000 could be spent any other way. I think I've had my say.
During your career, how many fires were there per year compared to now? We eliminated in Millbrae all the wood shake roofs. We all have smoke detectors. The scene has changed completely. I bet there aren't half as many fires today per year as there were when you started. Am I correct?
There probably was more fires
I
when
know I am, because I know what the stats are.
Yes.
And the fire department has voluntarily taken over medical response services, and they did this to retain their jobs, and I'm not even opposed to that. But the fact of the matter is, when you, in a capitalistic economy, take away a thriving type of business like ambulance service, that's a little socialistic. I think we could do just probably as well with private ambulances. But I do want a fire department, and I don't want to close that one.
Your comments are well taken. I'm sure the fires are down. Part of it is, I don't know if you know, I worked in fire prevention for 12 years, and it's probably the good work we've done in fire prevention to eliminate fires. I mean, building codes have changed, sprinkler systems, smoke detectors cause early initiation. So anyway, so inspections of buildings on an annual basis help out to eliminate all the hazards that there are. So prevention is a huge part of it, that to decrease fires, as well as the points you've made. But thanks for your comments.
Now, I don't understand. I have property in San Carlos, and the fire department does inspections. If we have a budget deficit, why don't they have the fire department go out every year and inspect the house for $65? That would solve the problem entirely and might really save some fires from occurring.
Yeah, we already have a fee schedule where we do charge for inspections. We're probably one of the only cities in the county that charges for inspections, not only for apartments, for businesses throughout the city on an annual basis. So we do charge fees for inspections here in Millbrae as a revenue source.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. The discussion on the financial part alone at this time reminds me of the discussions we had when Millbrae School 25 years ran out of money. And they came to the conclusion we have to close the Millbrae School and divide the students over the other schools. And they did go through, they appointed a commission. The commission came also to the conclusion we should close Millbrae School. They closed it, And within a year, they ran out of classrooms. And now all the Millbrae schools have portable classrooms, which they have had, some of them 20, 25 years. And it's a temporary situation, and this temporary situation has become permanent. But it was a wrong decision by the school board at that time, assisted by a commission of citizens. I just want to throw
And
that
it
in.
sounds like Millbrae Fire Station.
Hi, my name is Peggy McNeil, and I live on Crestview. I've been here over 40 years. My question is coming from a different direction. Have you done any demographic reviews on, or reports on housing that's going up in Millbrae? I once thought there was no place to build in Millbrae. Then the Millbrae School District sold the Millbrae School, and we have those homes that go up. And you know the developer said, oh, look, you have a fire station right near you. Now we have the condos that are on Broadway. Wasn't that the parking lot? Then we have the condos on El Camino and the businesses. Wendy's, I'm not sure what's going up, whether it's office, condos, or what have you, but those are more services for our fire department. And then I look at very sadly, at the DeLand Motor, huge property that someone's going to want to develop. So have we done any demographic reports showing what are going to be the future needs that are going to come on, going to be needed by our fire services?
Well, I know there are some, like you said, it seems like Millbrae is a built-out city, but Wendy's is another site that I believe will have another 100 condos there with business underneath. So has there been demographic studies? I can't say that there have been, but we are increasing some of the demographics of housing here in Millbrae with 3 major developments that I know of that have gone up on the corner of Millbrae Avenue, Park Broadway, and then over down on El Camino, as well as the new one.
So you're helping to make my point. More fire services, not less. Anyway, somebody else. Just making my point.
Hi, my name is Julie Turner. I've lived in Millbrae for 40 years, grew up here, and now have owned my own home here in Millbrae for 10 years. And I have to tell you all, I feel very awkward being here. First off, you said it was all senior citizens, and it's not. Okay? And I have to be honest with you all, and I'm sure I'm not going to win any friends, but I do hope that I win your respect. And that is, I am not happy about the fact that I pay 10 times more on my property taxes than my neighbor next door, and I get the same services. You have to understand, there's others of us in the community, right, who feel very differently. I also feel that, I don't like to see these jobs go away. Those are jobs that my kids one day might need to have to maintain, a living or something. These affect future generations when jobs go away. So I really don't support the jobs going away, but at the same time, if the money is not coming in, we have to make some tough decisions. And I don't like, to hear. I agree with you. There is going to be a lot of pain and suffering as a result of these decisions. But if we don't have the funding to do it, it's tough decisions that we all have to make. And if we have statistics that show something like this is feasible, we should give it a try. And if it's a 1-year trial run, and it's been proven that Hillsborough and Burlingame have done this in their own towns and used it as an outcome, I think we need to be a bit more open-minded. The other option is, of course, to figure out where the funding is going to come from. But I think we can all agree that status quo with our general fund and what's coming in there isn't going to do it. So, like I said, I feel like I've paid my fair share, and I'm really not voting to put more in. But I don't think there's anything that's stopping anybody in the community from walking up and knocking on the front door of the fire station and say, here, I want to hand you a check. Is there anything that stops people from doing that? Thank you.
There is a great way to generate revenue for the fire service. All you have to do is go up to South San Francisco and see how much money they generate by providing paramedic transport services. And you're going to hear from these gentlemen that we don't have 201 rights and we can't do it. I worked for 10 years, first as a 5-year consultant, as a second job for the Everest Pass Fire District, and then 6 years as full-time assistant chief. We implemented a paramedic transport service, very small community up there in Arnold. We ran about 1,000 medical calls a year and generated $1.7 million. Got us enough money that we put a second career fire station in, and everybody in our town up there that owned property got no out-of-pocket cost transport services, which means your home was charged. If you were a property taxpayer in the Everest Pass Fire Protection District, we transported you, your insurance got charged, and whatever your insurance paid was considered payment in full. That paid for 9 full-time firefighter paramedics. It kept a second career station owner open, and it did provide for a second chief officer, which I enjoyed my last 6 years up there. But there is the biggest revenue stream that San Mateo County is missing. Our paramedic transport services are done by a private provider, and each year, millions of dollars are taken away that should be supporting what I call the public safety infrastructure, our law enforcement services, and our fire suppression and emergency medical services. That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it without knocking on your door and taking more money out. That's the way without having to pass the offeree bucket. It's a way we can do it, and it's time that we set a citizens committee up. It would require political pressure. I'm not sure which one of our council people is sitting on the JPA board, but it would require the other cities. Basically, it's ultimately a decision of the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors. And with proper political pressure and proper organization, we can do this. I've done it. These gentlemen here in the black uniforms know I've done it. And it's quite achievable. I live here in Millbrae. I'm now retired. My wife's a retired cop. She doesn't like me in the house. I got time on my hands. I'll be more than happy to help you set it up.
If I can, Brian, I'm going to go ahead and address the transport part of it. Been in the fire department, fire service for 30 years. I was a medic in 1982 and moving forward. The city managers in the county did do a study on it, and they found that there was about a 6% range in there of profit. And that wasn't, the city managers at the time said that wasn't enough, and that was done about 4 years ago. Again, with the feasibility studies that spent, unfortunately, a bunch of money on, but it was people that just studied those analysis. And so the city managers at that time said 6% is not enough as far as with the healthcare, the way it's going and where it was headed. And so that was done, I'm going to say, about 4 years ago. So with that, I'm not saying I disagree with you. I'm just letting everybody here know that it's not something that hasn't been looked at.
And not to differ from my distinguished colleague, I've known Mark for a number of years. I also read that study. And the critical thing was this. And I'm not sure, maybe you can help me. If the revenue looked at was the 60-day or 90-day revenue, was it 60, as I recall?
Honestly, I can't.
Okay, well, when you're talking about ambulance transport revenue, you're talking at how much money is collected at 60 days. This is working through a insurance process at 90 days and 120 days. So with American Medical Response, at 60 days, if they haven't collected it yet, it's considered an uncollectible debt in the San Mateo County system. At that point in time, it's a bad debt, and it's transferred to American Medical Response's home office in Aurora, Colorado. And I'll guarantee you that around day 160, that's when the checks come in. I ran a system for 10 years. And you just have to be patient. The revenue does come. That's where you take your seed money, your $600,000 that we want to build the Petri dish station with. Let's put that in our seed money. Let's start our transport operation. We'll live off that $600,000 to get our first 6 months of operation going, and then the revenue stream will continue and come. It will happen. Why do you think every 10 years when this contract's up, all kinds of people and politicians comes to lobby the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors and dance the big dance about how perfect the transport system is? And then once their contract's signed for another 10 years or 5 and a 5-year extension, we don't see them again for another nine years and 8 months. And then they're back for the last 4 for the home stretch push.
Anyway, I think we're just about ready to wrap it up. I think you guys, I appreciate everyone coming tonight. I think that your ideas, your thoughts, your concerns, we empathize with every one of them. And I think that it's important that you've come here tonight. I know there's 2 council members here. I know Marge takes very good notes. We will also look back at the tapes we've listened to, every concern. We probably put together the same ideas and thoughts and concerns that you have prior to this meeting to try to address some of the questions prior to. And we will look at every concern that you have. I know the council is willing to look at every option that comes forward. If it's one that is against the direction we're going, that may be one that we look at that ends up coming to fruition. We don't know. This is a direction we're taking right now. This is what we've been directed to do. This is what we think is the right thing to do. We feel that those 2 stations are 2 of the slower ones in the county. We feel we can continue the service levels we have, and that's where we stand. Like I said, you guys have all made some great points tonight. We'll be willing to look at all those, and hopefully we'll see how things come out in the future. But we thank you all for coming tonight, and if you have any questions, we'll be glad. There's maps up there. Rabina, can you raise your hand? Rabina has some maps too, if you want to pick up a couple of the maps that we have. Otherwise, again, we thank you for your time tonight and for all your candid remarks. Thanks.